doesn't even rhyme.
Yeah, it does.
Bring it back on the mic.
Well, out of those.
Everybody up.
Now, would you sign off?
Turn my mic up on the mic.
Well, out of those.
Let me in.
Not for us, a weird. Bring it back on the mic.
Well, out of those.
Everybody up.
Now, would you sign off?
Turn my mic up on the mic.
Well, out of those.
Let me in.
Not for us, a weird. Bring it back on the mic.
Well, out of those.
Everybody up.
Now, would you sign off?
Turn my mic up on the mic.
Well, out of those.
Let me in.
Not for us, a weird. Bring it back on the mic.
Well, out of those.
Everybody up.
Now, would you sign off?
Turn my mic up on the mic.
Well, out of those.
Let me in.
Not for us, a weird.
And always look at me. And dad made a sound. And always look at me. And dad made a sound.
Bring it back on the mic.
Always look at me.
Everybody up.
And dad made a sound.
Turn my mic up on the mic.
Always look at me. And
Not for
dad
us,
made
a
a
weird.
sound. Wow.
Well, hello, hello everyone. My name is Daramouthe, or Dara for short, and welcome to another Darachat. Of course, again with the lovely Cthulhu-looking like lady, HorrorAmorata. How are you doing, Amorata?
Then I forgot to unmute. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
People will be like, "Is she moving her head? What's going on there?" And you're like,
I have no idea. I'm like, and I was like, oh, something doesn't sound right here. And then I realized, oh, right.
"My voice."
Works better if you turn on the mic. Yeah.
Well, we're forth. What is it? We're forth, forsooth, is your voice, oh lady. Gonna get very Shakespearean tonight. People are like, "Oh, for this." Yeah,
It's too early. It's too late. No, it's Thursday. Jesus Christ.
It's Thursday. It's Thursday leading into a long weekend of
Yep.
an extra day. So, but how are you gonna celebrate your Memorial
Not
Day?
gonna do a whole lot, just yard work and housework, and really
Yeah.
the working never really stops once you get old.
Oh no. And then you hear a pop and it's like, "Oh Lord, please, please don't let it be the thing, please."
Yeah. Was that my knee? Was that my back? Was that my hip? I don't know.
Now, if it's a good pop, it'll be a relief. But if it's a bad pop, you're like, if I move one more second, it's gonna be worse. And
Uh-huh.
you're like, help, help,
Yep.
someone. Oh goodness. But yeah, my parents have a cottage up in Michigan, so that's where I'll be, near a lake. But I won't be for the whole ordeal because I didn't take any extra time off for
Oh.
Memorial Day. So, well, it's more of like it's just I only get a certain amount of hours. You know how it is, right? Full time,
Yeah.
PTO, all that crap, right? All the adult stuff they tell you, yeah, it'll be great. Yeah, it'll be great, but then my health can deteriorate and I won't have enough time. And it's just like, because it used to be, I remember when I was younger, it's like, yes, I could get the ice cream whenever I want. Yes. And then years later, it's like, yeah, you need to watch out for your cholesterol. I was like, God dang it.
On the plus side, ice cream's not that bad for your cholesterol. I mean, there are other things that are way worse for it.
Well, that's true, but it depends on what. Like I get custard, like frozen custard.
Oh, okay. So
Oh,
yeah, that's a lot richer.
oh, but it's so good too. It's like Culver's, go to Culver's, get some of that. Plus, you have the add-ins. Like I do like either Snickers and M&M, or Snickers and the Dove. Do you put like Dove chocolate bits in?
I didn't know you could. I've only been to a Culver's once.
Well, you're good. Good. You shouldn't go to Culver's very much because of fried food and all this other stuff.
It's all bad for you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all bad for you. It's like I was telling someone else, like I got this because shopping at a grocery store, right? I got this app called Yuka, YUKA, and your grocery store is like 95 to 98% just trying to kill you.
Yeah, you gotta be careful about the food you decide to buy.
Yeah.
Thankfully, most of the food around here isn't too bad, but buying the processed food is always the worst.
Yeah.
It's always better to make your own shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been like doing like Dave's bread, it's expensive, but I mean, when I use the app, it's like it's on a good grade, because it's kind of a helpful thing when you can have technology, not like take over, but just be like, hey, you shouldn't do this. It's up to you whether you choose it or not, but probably shouldn't choose this food or whatever.
I will
And
say one of those things for me is yeah, you can buy things at the store that are a little better for you than other things at the store. I always just find it better to make your own.
yeah, well,
It's not that hard.
yeah, well, I've bought I've bought those steamed vegetables, right? You know, you can put in a microwave, you know, steam up.
Hmm.
Those are all right. I've done like, you know, steak because steak is good. When I went to my dietitian, she gave me a list of things of do's and don'ts, and certain cuts of steak are all right, and other cuts are not. Like I
Yeah.
think like T-bone was not good, ribeye is not good, but I can do like round.
No, you want the leaner
Sirloin.
cuts because
Yeah.
they're more worried about the fats in those than the others. Personally, I just don't worry about that in general, and I worry more about if I'm getting enough vegetables and what I'm drinking and making
Mhm.
sure. Because we just recently switched to raw milk as opposed to pasteurized milk that you get at the store, and that's been actually delicious.
Oh, it has? Is it more expensive though? Because you know it's you're buying from a farm, so I would figure it'd be a bit more expensive.
You know, I would have to do the math because we get 2.5 gallons every week. I'm not sure how much a gallon of milk is right now.
Yeah, and then well, there's a farmer's market near me. Oh, hello there.
Would you stop?
Someone else wants to chime in. I understand. It's okay. The T-bones, I understand that you'll want them. You'll want.
No, I've got two of them are fighting with each other directly under my chair.
Oh, go, 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 go.
Now the puppy is beating up on his father, and his father, I can't call it beating up. The puppy is laying on his side, pawing at his father because the puppy, despite outweighing his father by twice his weight,
Yeah.
is just a pushover, and his father is an asshole. So it's
Place your bets. Everyone place your bets.
if Sydney ever decided to take on Rudy, Sydney would win.
Oh goodness.
But he's just too much of a pushover.
Yeah, that's too funny. Because I've had a few people on who've had, you know, shown off their pets or whatever, which is you know, it's just one of those things, part of the family and all that. I remember we had a dog at least one point. It was a chocolate lab, but my mom ended up taking care of it, so
Hmm.
had to send it off to someone else. Didn't really, you know, give it up to some shelter, whatever. We just had someone else in the neighborhood we knew and gave it to them, and that was that.
Yeah.
So
It's a commitment people don't realize sometimes, but you know,
mm,
I've had dogs and cats all my life, so it's kind of actually second nature by now. So it's like, you know, taking
are you?
care of just another person in the house.
I said quiet, guys, quiet.
No,
Oh,
that's literally how that goes.
look, if I
For
have
the
to
love
sit
of
down,
God, shut up. Yeah.
if I have to sit down for another hour with you guys and have this discussion again,
God, I wish talking to them worked.
I was just gonna ask you the pet whisper, but it sounds like you're not.
No, I don't think anybody really is. You can whisper to your pets all you want, but I
What was that one guy, the dog whisper guy, the Caesar?
Caesar Milan, yeah.
Yeah, Caesar. Oh my gosh, that dude, that guy must be making bank for what he does, because there's no way. There's no way.
Well, I mean, he was for a while there, but you don't hear about him so much anymore. So I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
that's
sure he
just
still gets paid quite a bit to help celebrities and stuff with their dogs.
yeah. And that reminds me of the time where what was it? It was Lady Gaga who had her dog stolen by
Oh yeah,
by former workers or something like that, and I was like,
her current employees, her what was it? Her maid or
oh
something
yeah,
actually was out walking the dog and pretended to have them abducted, and they sold the ransom was like $200,000 or something. And
man,
she paid it, but then the workers got sued on the back end for it. Was weird.
yeah. At a certain point, it's like, yeah, that was not a foolproof plan, guys. That was not
Uh,
foolproof.
they did not think that through at all.
They're like, celebrity, pets, money. and then everything else they kind of fell to the side. They
Yeah,
didn't.
they kind of forgot to follow through on the rest of that.
I just love it when people are dumb enough to try something, and then when they do try it, they end up getting in trouble anyway.
Hmm.
Like, guys, did you not think it through before? Well, we thought we could get away with it. A 5-year-old says that when they're trying to get to the cookie jar. Come on, guys. Come on.
Yep, yep.
Oh man. But anyway, so how has things been in your life? It's been a while since you've been on. You've grown, and you've you you had that Gary mishap that named your channel wrong, so that was funny.
Renamed my channel for me. Yeah, things are going really well. I'm actually the video channel is doing exceedingly well for what I expected, honestly. So I'm very happy with how things are going.
Good. That's good. Cause I know because I know I know mostly your big thing is YouTube, but I mean I have seen your streams at least once, or at least I've stopped at least some of your
Hmm.
streams on the Rumble side, so I haven't really rechecked to see how well that's doing. But and I don't know if it because you stream to Twitter X, don't you?
I basically stream everywhere. I stream to Twitter, I stream to X, I stream to Rumble or Twitter and X. Those are the same thing. I stream to Rumble, I stream to Twitch, I stream to Kick
Hmm.
and YouTube. I do them all at the same time.
Nice. Hey, what up, Tomby? Nice to
Hey,
see you, sir.
Tommy.
Now, so because you've been multi-streaming, right? What I know people are mostly going to point to YouTube, but beside that point, through the mix of the ones you're doing right now, what has been your experience in multi-streaming, multi-platforming to those platforms, or just
You
doing it?
know, not a whole I can't really say there's a lot to say about the experience. You have a different audience in each location.
Mm,
You have to keep up with each one, and you don't want to neglect one of them. That's the hard part, is making sure that you're paying attention across all of your chats to make
mm.
sure you're giving everybody attention. The plus side is I don't have a lot of people in my chats, so that makes it really easy.
Well, I mean, multi-streaming for the win. Yeah, no, you know, I've kind of said my piece on, like, because at this point in this road, content creators really don't have much of a choice in staying just one platform,
Mhm.
because if everything you have is on one platform, and then YouTube is a great example, and they demonetize you or ban you for no apparent reason, because we all know what they do, guess what? All your stuff is gone. And you hear those horror stories, and you're just like, but did you at least place yourself elsewhere? And it's like, no, there was no other place worth doing. It's like, you are not thinking ahead.
And the thing to me is it's not like it hurts me to be other places. I know that I'm going to get a different audience in each place. There are plenty of people who don't want to be on YouTube.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of people who prefer the type of software experience that Kick and Twitch give you.
Hmm. Yeah.
So why not be on all of them? The only problem I face is that I refuse to monetize on Twitch because of their
Yeah.
rules. I refuse to be subject to some of the rules they have for the affiliates. So I do lose out on, actually, I'm not going to lie. Before I quit Twitch entirely for a little while, I was making $200 a month, so enough to really cover a couple bills,
Yeah.
which was
Well,
nice.
yeah.
And now I don't get that anymore because I refuse to do that anymore
Well,
because
and
of their practices.
right. Yeah, and also because of what happened that one time where they just kind of let the rules go for a bit, and they went wild for a
Oh,
day.
you see, I don't even care about that. What I care about is enforcing the rules equally across everybody.
You'll never see
And
that.
they don't do that, for one. And for two, when I decided to leave the affiliateship, I
Mhm.
did it initially because one day I literally opened Twitch. I looked at my For You streams and they had a bunch of titty streamers on there. And I personally have never been into titty streamers. I have
Right.
never watched one. I don't listen to them. I don't search them. So there's really no reason that Twitch should have been pushing those at me. There was literally one person in the first 3 or 4 of the For You tab that
Uh-huh.
I would have watched. And the rest of them were people trying to pretend they were doing sexual acts, and that just didn't work for me. At that point, I realized not only don't they care about their creators, they don't care about their viewers either.
Mm-hmm.
And I was done. On top of that, after I left, they initiated the I think it's a $25 fee to break your affiliateship if you become an affiliate, and if you don't have enough money coming. If you don't have over $100 coming to you after you break it, you don't get any of that money.
Jeez.
So there's just a lot of that I don't fuck with.
Yeah, I just and for me, I know, and you've been in D-Day Cobra's chats,
Mhm.
and again, I have seen a lot of times where people like, go exclusive, but I'm like, at a certain point, I was right there with them, but then I'm like, wait a second. Even on YouTube, right? I've never seen them pay for anyone exclusively. They have favoritism. That's a different thing. But I've never seen YouTube pay exclusively for someone just to stream there exclusively, other than people saying, well, the monetization is better. Okay, that's a Google thing, but you give up a piece of your soul for that. But my point is that unless a platform, right? Unless a platform pays for your exclusivity, and that's more of just less like a certain section of time is set aside for them, whatever that
Mhm.
platform may be.
Well, it depends on the
No,
deal where you work out with them, but yeah.
that too, definitely that too. But my thing is, like, unless you're paid exclusively, there should be no reason there should be any exclusivity, unless it's like a censorship thing, right? Like, some people do locals or whatever. But for me, it's like at a certain point, my thinking changed. Where it's like, as much as I'd like that for them, Jeremy and Gina, whatever, I'd
Mhm.
rather them get paid for that than just do that because again, YouTube doesn't do it. Uh, I don't think I've ever seen Twitch do it or
Oh,
whatever.
Twitch pays people. There have been what was it? Dr. Disrespect actually had a deal with them before they
But yeah,
unceremoniously terminated it.
yeah. As long as they have a deal, that's the difference. If they don't have a deal, then you shouldn't do it. If you do have a deal, then whatever was worked out between both parties is
Mhm.
up for that. But for me, it's like I get the reason why people want to do that, but again, it's more like unless you get paid for it, don't do it, because
Right.
or unless you have a contractual agreement to get paid more than the basic stuff, then
Right.
you should do it
Well,
because it makes sense.
it's hard to go exclusive because you want to, for one, you want to cover all your bases, and
Mhm.
for two, anytime, especially, I mean, look at how much Jeremy makes on YouTube,
Yeah.
and if he didn't stay on YouTube unless Rumble was to offer him the money to make up for what he's losing by leaving YouTube, it's not
Yeah.
worth it for him. And you got to remember that in terms of Jeremy, he's got a lot of people that he's not just a person, he's a company. He's got payrolls to meet. He's got
Yeah.
bills to pay and all that other stuff. He's got lights to keep on. So the man's got to take that into account
Mhm.
when he does that. It's not like he's freaking Tim Pool, who will pretend that he drops his stream because someone said something naughty and runs off.
Yeah.
But no, he has and then tries to drive people to his own separate website
Yeah.
to monetize that.
Mhm.
He wants everybody to be able to view everything they can and have the opportunity to support while supporting us. I mean, it's just the way it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah, no, and I understand. I wouldn't say leave. I would be more like it's just like a cutoff time, right? Like you go to a certain point and say, well,
Mhm.
we're going to do this extra hour over there or extra half an hour, whatever that, again, the contractual thing would be. And then just be like, well, we'll see you over there. Because that was a point for, like, the quartering, right?
Mhm.
Jeremy the quartering. He does certain streams over just on Rumble alone. But again, it shouldn't. Again, it doesn't matter the platform. It should just be if you're not being paid the makeup, right?
Mhm.
And like say an extra, right? It's not a tip, but it's sort of like some rich celebrity drops like $10,000, whatever,
Yeah.
helps as a bonus. Uh, it's not worth leaving the multi-streaming faction part, unless, of course, what happened with the Tucker Putin thing, right? Like he didn't have much of a choice. YouTube
Mhm.
did that, and of course, with the election stuff coming up, that's just gonna be hard hitting anymore for just about anyone. Some
Yeah.
people don't get hit as hard because, of course, YouTube has its favoritisms, or the people who make them more money, because that's what it's all about. But at the end of the day, if you're not multi-platforming, multi-streaming yourself, you are essentially signing your death warrant as a content creator, because
Potentially, unless you're in like a really niche thing that you know you're not going to get in trouble for ever, like you're streaming the absolutely most wholesome, clean content, or you're like streaming to kids or something. No, not streaming, but making those kids videos, and you're doing the most wholesome, clean content that's also making YouTube a ton of money at the same time, so they can't afford to get rid of you.
yeah,
You're basically, you're always. It's the sad thing about content creation in general is it's a business in which you have to constantly do the things people yell at other people for. You are constantly looking for attention. You are constantly looking to get more eyes on you, because that's just part of how it works. If you're not doing that, you're not going to make the money, and you're not going to be able to survive if you're using it as an income.
yeah. And for me, it's like I don't like it, because I consumed a lot of content, before doing my own. Is the whole asking people to like kind of like, follow and all that stuff, because you know how the YouTube thing goes, so follow, was it share, like, and subscribe, that that whole mantra. And I'm trying to at least change it up a bit to where it's not sounding the same, but I do understand that in order to be seen by more people, to have more people on, I kind of need that help, because
Yeah.
I can't, because again, it's a credibility factor, right? Like, I can't get other people on if they just look and say, that's nothing. There's nothing there. It's not going on, or whatever. I'm just like, but it's just one of those things. I don't like the whole begging aspect of it,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I do.
it's a sad fact of psychology, unfortunately, that if you don't ask people to do those things, a lot of them won't.
Yeah.
It takes that moment of, hey, I can do this thing, and someone reminding you, hey, you can do that thing, for them to actually go through and do that thing. Realistically, so take back before Jeremy hit, the quartering hit, what is he, what was he trying to get to? 100?
A
A
million.
million, yeah. Back before he hit that, when he would constantly go over his subscriber rate, or his view rate for his subscribers, he had something in like the 30% rate, and that's actually a really good rate for subscriber views. When it comes to these sorts of things, you have to remember that 20% is an amazing rate. So that means for all of the views he was getting, only about 20% of those people watching were actually subscribed. So that's a whole lot of people who hadn't hit the subscription button. It doesn't seem like it takes a lot of effort to hit the subscribe button, but it's also, depending on how someone's watching, so out of the way to do that they don't think about it. That's why you ask. And that's why it's important to think about how you ask too, because if you're whiny about it or demanding about it, then not only are people not going to want to watch your content, but they're not going to hit the button.
Right. And I always give an explanation of like, it helps in getting more people on, because again, like, of course I had Sheep City on this week, and I'm going to try to see if I don't know if I ever will, but I'll try and see if I can have Ripper on just to chat with, because I don't, what Rip is doing is great, because he instead of just kept talking, he went and did what he was going for.
Yeah.
But it's more because my thing is like, this whole thing, with you, with other people, it's not about clout gaining. It's about, there's a conversation of having a conversation missing, and you get a lot of these drama streamers, you get a lot of these whatever streamers, or whatever, and I'm just like, why can't we just sit down and have a conversation about whatever? Because I understand some people want topics, whatever, but it's like, I have had so many different people on, and there's been so many different conversations when the conversation has been free flowing, that every time, like for April, May, both filled months, I've been proven twice in a row that a free flowing conversation has done well enough that people are still willing to come on. Some people, like Jack Tarlett or whatever, and of course Tommy, real good dude, many good people. including yourself. The point of the matter though is I get those factions, right? I get why people ask what's the topic. I get why this or that, because
Mhm.
it's been a part of the what's the makeup. It's been part of the makeup for years for content creation. But for me it's like I just can't, because I just kept seeing the niches, right? The domes, the spheres, people getting their conglomerate of areas.
Mhm.
And for me, I want to break them all. I just want to take a bat to all of them and say, look, let's come on out. Let's have some fun that way, because we're in a time period where yes, it's the political stuff, but it's a bunch of people just yelling at each other, and there's no conversation. It's just I'm right, you're wrong, right?
Yeah.
You've seen all of those,
Yep.
especially with you being a very maddening god entity of sorts. How'd you
I
like?
tend to create them in my wake. Yeah.
How'd you like the title, by the way?
I like the title. It's a very good title.
See, and when I tried to do it for Sheep City, and I was trying to be clever, and I was also trying to be funny too, because it was just hilarious to me. It's like I looked at that, and it's like, and then you said it was cute, and I was like, I'll accept it. So, but it's been interesting because one, in like, because I know in the thumbnail making and all this other stuff. For me, I'm basic. I'm
Mhm.
like I'm very
Oh,
basic when I
dude, so
do.
am I. My
Well,
thumbnails are so basic.
you put a little pizzazz in them. All right, you put a little pizzazz in them.
No, I cheat and I steal the pizzazz of the 1920s. That's what I do. I steal a style I know that some people like and other people hate, and I use it to my advantage. That's what I do.
Oh, so you are doing the Charleston when you put in your.
Yeah, you might as well. Yeah.
You are the bee's knees. Oh my goodness. But no, again, again, YouTube is still the king of platforms, and I know
Mhm.
that, and I know people make their complaints about YouTube, but not sorry, not YouTube, but Rumble. I mean, a lot of people make, because of what the connection with Google and stuff. But for something like Rumble, there's always going to be complaints about, because people are going to want what they already have with YouTube. But
Yep.
I I don't invest in Rumble because I want it to be YouTube. I see its potential in the future. Has it messed up? Sure. Is it still an issue? Yes. But if you compare how many years it took for YouTube to get where it's at, right? Like 2000, was it 2006 when Google bought it, to now? That's about 18 years. 18
This
years.
this is probably the only time someone will hear me do this or say
Sure.
this.
Sure.
If you really want to see what YouTube used to look like, go watch a DSP documentary and look at the setup. Just look at how it used to be. Remember the fact, and this is, I mean, this is part of the maddening thing of getting older in general, is because you
Mhm.
have a whole bunch of little kids who grow up and they're used to this thing being this way, and you
Mhm.
remember the days when you literally had to pull out an actual camera to
Yeah.
record your TV with that camera to
Mhm.
then upload it to YouTube, because there was no such thing as live streaming.
Yeah. Yep.
And to do all of that stuff, it was so different and so weird
Mhm.
that I don't think that a lot of kids today really understand it.
They weren't there when the technology was not up to par. Like, again, the layout of YouTube was so much different back, like when CNanners and Markiplier and Game Theory. What is it? Was it Matt from Game
I'm not
Theory?
good at that.
Yeah,
I There's a whole portion of YouTube from about,
Cap,
well, it's beginning until about 2015 that I missed.
uh, Captain Sparkles. There's a lot of different things. Again, I get it. I really get it. YouTube has Google resources, which is nigh infinity at this point because it's
Mhm.
global. But investing in Rumble now as it is, it's improving, it's getting better. And don't worry, I was there when Jeremy was like, just copy paste YouTube over to Rumble. It's like, no, that's not how it works. I don't blame him, but I also understand that. And again, even from Gary's perspective, I understand. But when you go to a new platform, you are essentially going to your like first day of school on the new platform.
Mhm.
That's basically it. It's right. You're making new friends. You might see an old friend that you didn't know was going to move there, but essentially you're starting over. And while I get big chunk of it is monetization and reach, it's also risk.
Yep.
And content creation is about taking risk. If you didn't take risks, you wouldn't be where you're at, right? I mean, I barely make anything now on Rumble, but the point of the matter is that I'm doing this for the love of getting to talk to people like you and so many others, and everything else being a bonus after that. Because as we've seen with some content creators, if you forget to be humble about it, you start going down a road where it just becomes this sort of narcissistic. What's the opposite of empathetic? Um, Narcissistic, just downright awful person who's just in it for fame and money and all this
Yeah.
other stuff. And nowadays the majority of the people who started way back on YouTube are leaving, right? Like Matt
Well,
from
they
Game
got
Theory.
old.
Yeah, well, they got to well, but I mean, Markiplier is still going, and he's doing a
Yeah.
lot of different things. Scene Anners was on when I was just started looking on YouTube, and he's no longer existing on all that stuff. But even having your stuff on a platform doesn't guarantee it will stay there forever after. Which is the other thing too. Like you do all this stuff for while you're alive, and when you pass on, your stuff could immediately just be erased,
Mhm.
and everything you are was just. So it's hilarious, but I get the rants, I get the conversational pieces, but at the end of the day, it's a risk. And if you're not willing to at least take some form of risk, like you are with multi-platforming and so many others, then you aren't willing to climb the mountain that's going to be the saying words is hard.
Yeah, words aren't easy. Words are absolutely not easy. Um, but I think another thing to remember is when it comes to doing this kind of thing, when it comes to content creation and everything, one of the most important things is if you're not doing it from a genuine place in yourself, then what's going to happen is you are going to wear yourself out day after day, pretending to be someone or something that you're not.
Yeah.
And that really does take a toll, especially when you seek to direct your personality in a way that you think satisfies what people want. If you
Yeah.
are constantly changing yourself more and more to be what you think your audience wants and becoming less and less of yourself, you're just going to wear yourself out.
Yeah, it's chasing the algorithm. It's
Mhm.
basically what that is. And of course, YouTube has all that stuff set up. Like I do shorts, but I take shorts from my streams in order to make that. And there's still so many people I haven't done that stuff with yet. It's just like I
Mhm.
have it for days, and I keep having more people on. But I don't. One is I use the technology. I use Opus.pro. If you haven't heard of it,
Yep.
I use that. So that's like 90% of the work that it would take for a streamer to go through and take a clip. 90% of the
Mhm.
work gets done, and I'm just doing the 10% editing, changing different things, looking at different things. I also use Claude.ai, which is an AI thing, and that's mostly for like, hey, does this look okay what I'm saying, right? Like I do I have it do proofreading. I have it asking questions about like what's in the Opus app Pro, right? You'll see some of the wordings change color, right?
Mhm.
I'm being honest about this because it's sort of that's the psychology part of it, right? Like
Yep.
what are the colors that work well together that grab attention, right? Like of course red. I just like the color red. It's not really for anything of that matter.
Mhm.
But there's different colors that grab the attention. And so through Opus Pro, you can change the color of the caption. And um and I've been trying that, see if that works now. I haven't been paying attention to it. I'm just trying it.
Mhm.
But I've been putting content on both platforms, not really, you know, Rumble doesn't have a shorts category, but I do get views of shorts there,
Mhm.
and YouTube has its own thing. So I do put as much as the content possible on both platforms because I'm not being paid exclusivity, so why wouldn't I? you know.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see what doesn't work. But I'm just enjoying the process because when one of the creators I had on introduced me to Canva, right?
Mhm.
The program, that's where I make my thumbnails. And I make them, and like I said, I make them as basic as possible. I'm, I am so basic it makes apple pie look like a joke. So, but it's a funny thing where you have these technologies coming out that can help. Again, Opus.pro, it's not just me using it. There's a ton of different people using it. And while it can become oversaturated, I think, as a program used, for a lot of content creators who pay an editor and
Mhm.
may not have the money to do it or don't, this is a perfect opportunity to just familiarize yourself. Yeah, if you want to pay an editor later on in life, your choice. But
God, I
for
wish
me,
I could afford an editor.
yeah. But for, yeah, so could I. But for me, it's just like it does 90% of the work, whatever. I can edit it on the fly by using the program it gives, and it's just it it works. It's a program I use, Canva, for the basic of the needs I need, right? The needs I need.
Mhm.
The needs I need. It's gonna be a tongue twister by the end of the night. Um, it works. Using Rumble Studios, yes, it has its issues, right? And they're partly on the same part of StreamYards, because that's
Mhm.
one that people use most, or Restream, which I know Jeremy the DD Cobra uses.
I use
And
Restream.
yeah, you as well. But the thing of it is, right, is that it's free. You could stream to multiple different platforms. And I'm not gaming is the one place where it kind of doesn't work well on. But stuff like this, same with Opus.pro. For stuff like this, it works very well. Gaming, not so much. But for
Yeah.
my needs, it works wonders.
Yeah.
I used OBS, right? I'm sure you use OBS too, right?
Yeah. And I use OBS all the time.
Yeah. And OBS is for the more customizable faction because you've got layouts, right? You've got.
Yep.
Do you make
I
your
got
own layouts?
I
Or
make my own layouts. I've got a few different layouts depending on what I'm doing.
Mm,
I've got 3 different ones just for my videos and like 4 different ones for gaming and a whole bunch of different stuff.
yeah, and yes, Rumble Studios doesn't have that kind. I mean, it has some customization, but not to the excess of OBS. But you can use OBS through it. Has its issues with that too, but I digress. It's getting there, and it's free for right now. I do hope that at some point there'll be extras that one can pay for,
Mhm.
because it's free for us, right? But it's not
Yeah.
free for them.
Right.
That's the nature of business. But again, it's just like, use the tools that fit you in order to, one, not make it so burnouty, because I still have so many thumbnails I have to go over and
Mhm.
redo, right? Because what was it? Someone had told me like they want to see the faces or whatever, but I'm like, doing the thumbnail stuff just makes it look a lot nicer, looks a lot neater. Because I'm just doing the screen grab thing that YouTube does, and just did
Mhm.
that. But yeah, use the tools that work well for you. Have fun with it, and above all else, if it doesn't become a thing that you could at least get to where it's not like, not like a full-time job, but you're not fully relying on it, then just still have fun with it, because it it's a waste. It's a waste to try to it's a waste to try it's a waste to try to chase that dragon, the algorithm, and it's a waste to try to. I mean, you're in a competition, but it's just have fun with it. Just have fun with it. That's me. So, but anyway, I apologize. I went on too long of a
No,
tirade,
you
and
were
that
good.
that would
It's
be at the
important to get your for the love of God. This is your show. If you're
right,
talking most of the time, that's not a big deal.
right. But I have people on for a reason. I don't have them on just to look pretty. I mean, I'm not saying you're not pretty, but
I'm
um,
green. I have tentacles. It's okay.
look, for some people, it's a whole lot more. Eh, yeah, yeah. Cthulhu has. Have you already seen that game? what was it? It's the I can't remember what the name of it is, but they made Cthulhu into sort of like a waifu sort of.
Oh, Sucker for Love. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Second
actually
Love.
played that game. It's a fun game. It's a cute little game.
Yeah, how did you get all the? Did you try to get all the different endings or?
I got all the different endings, but there's an update that came out for it that I haven't played yet.
I just thought that was pretty interesting. It's like, wow, they even made the most maddening entity within the what is that universe called?
Lovecraft.
Lovecraft universe, and they turned it into. Never
And
changed
the
that.
funny thing is they say it's like a dating sim, but there's honestly it's more of a puzzle simulator
Yeah.
with some faint romantic overtones to it. Honestly, it's very interesting. You're basically just fighting for your life
Yeah.
while Cthulhu and the Yellow King and Azathoth try to
Seduce
or was
you.
it Nyarlathotep at the end? Sorry, it was Nyarlathotep at the end. Try to seduce you.
Yeah. It's like, that's one of those moments where that saying don't stick it in crazy comes up.
Oh, definitely. Though in this case, the crazy is you.
You have those people like fighting for your life. That sounds like a pretty accurate dating sim. Hey, there you go. There's Meg right there. Yeah, no, it is. And but I mean, you go to Steam and you see all these, you see all these junk games, right? These junk 18+ ones. I'm just like, wow, jeez.
The hilarious thing though is, so I did a video a few days ago on there's this sim called I can't remember the name of it, but somebody took it and modded it so that they could build Gundams in it.
Really?
So he made a modding sim. He took one of those sexual sims and modded it. He took all of this stuff, basically he said all he had to do is really change the bones, because in this sim you get to design your waifu, you get to design, everything about her. And so he just changed it so that you could instead build a Gundam. However, you still get to pick the sexual preferences of your Gundam, which apparently can lead to some really interesting situations within the game.
R34 Gundam. You heard it here.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what?
You get to cross waifus and Gundams, and for many men, that might actually be the perfect woman.
Look, I've seen R34 Transformers, so it's not gonna be any different. It's not
when it comes to that rule, it's across the board. There's a reason. It is what it is.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing too is like there's the unspoken rules of the internet, right? Like rule I can't what is it? Rules, I'm gonna have to look it up because I can't remember. Rules of the internet. I don't know if it's the same. Downvote. Oh, that's not it. Rules 35. Rules. I'm trying to find it, but it's conventions, because it gives me like the AI comes up as a loose collection of rules and aphorisms.
Aphorisms, yeah.
Aphorisms. Rules.
Yeah, that stupid AI thing they've started popping up at the top of Google's just irritating.
Well, I use Brave, so that's a different rule book. Rules. Okay, trying to find. Okay, here we go. This is from LinkedIn, and I'm going to there, and I'm going to show people. Okay. Oh no! Wait, never mind. Wait. Oh, okay. So yes, this is the correct one. Yeah. So that's a lot. It starts with Rule 7. No matter dating, keep in mind that no one on the internet debates. Instead, they mock your intelligence as well as your parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
At Rule 12, anything you say can and will be used against you.
Yep.
That's just the anything you say can and will be turned
Canon.
into something else. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Rule 14: do not argue with trolls. It means they win. Okay,
Yep.
that makes sense.
That is honestly, I think, one of the most forgotten rules of the internet right now is don't feed the trolls.
Well, that makes sense too with that one right there. What then? Rule 16: if you fail in epic proportions, it may just become a winning failure.
Yeah.
That can be true, yes, depending on America's Funny Some Videos. Rule 18: everything that can be labeled can be hated. I
Mm-hmm.
can see that. The more you hate it, the stronger it gets. That is
Yeah.
very true. That is very true. 21 pictures didn't happen.
That is a long ancient rule. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't face. Okay, I see what it is. Rule 22: original content is original only for a few seconds before it's no longer original. Every post is always a
Yep.
How true it is. These are so jeez. Of course, here we go. Rule 34: if it exists, there is porn of it. No exceptions. True.
Mhm.
Except there are some exceptions to the extent of popularity. If it's not popular enough, maybe
Oh no, there is porn of everything out there, especially now with AI. Doesn't
Oh,
matter
yeah.
how niche your like is,
Yeah.
you can create porn of it if it doesn't already exist. Thus, it
That is true.
exists already.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong, Meg. Yeah, it's true. With thanks to like Mid-Journey and all that stuff, it's well, some have rules of NSFW stuff, but still. 35: if there's no porn of it, porn will be made of it. That is also
Mhm.
true. No matter what it is somebody's fetish.
Yep.
Like Venn diagrams,
Defenestrations or
Or-
cranial detonations.
I don't know what that's trying to say.
Defenestrations when you throw somebody out of a tall window.
Really?
Mhm.
Or cranial detonation. Wow.
That means blowing up somebody's head.
I know that. I know what that means, but it's like, how does that have to do with this? Rule 37: no matter how effed up it is, there's always worse than what you just saw.
Yes. Yep.
Rule 42: nothing is sacred. That is also true.
Mhm.
Rule 43: the more beautiful and pure a thing is, the more satisfying it is to corrupt it. Yes,
Yep.
that is very true. That is very true. And you see that with you could just see that with regular people, right? Like on Twitter, whatever, where you have people who are just whatever, and there will sometimes pop up people who what is it? Who will have a good Christian girl or whatever person, and the internet will try to ruin them. And it's up to that person to kind of how it is. I hate Rule 43. Rule 43 is everything is wrong with 4chan. They're lawless and chaotic. Hey, some places are. The internet is serious business. True. Rule 48: the pool's always closed.
Yeah.
That's too funny. Rule 49: you cannot divide by 0 just because the calculator says so. But it's true in multiplication division, you can't do that. Rule 50: a crossover, no matter how improbable, will eventually happen in fan art, fan fiction, or official release material, often through fan fiction of it. That is also true. And there's a lot of people out there who have fan fiction, but it's mostly just not safe for work stuff. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, honestly, that's most of what fan fiction is and always has been, is that kind of, well, what if these two characters got together kind of thing, which I never really understood, but you know what?
hey, it goes along with, what was it? Rule 43: the more beautiful and pure a thing is, the more satisfying it is to corrupt it. Those two go along together. Rule 62: it has been cracked and pirated. You can find anything if you can look for it long enough.
Yep.
That is true.
There's also a 90% chance that what you just downloaded isn't what you thought you downloaded.
True. It can be, and that's where the danger of like actual CP can happen. You know, you could.
That's one thing that can happen, but I can't tell you the number of times people thought they were downloading, say, a 9 Inch Nails song, but instead got rickrolled.
Yep, Rickroll never gets old. That should be a rule. Probably is. Rule 63: for every given male character, there's a female version of that character, and vice versa. And there's always ports that character. So that's gender bending. Rules. I thought there was a rule 86, but rule 63 is gender bending, which is a Japan thing, really. Gender bent it's gender bent because cross dressing is when a male character dresses in a similar
Just as
fashion
like a
to
woman. Yeah.
a female character. I confirm this one is true. Yes, because Japan. Rule 66, everything has a fandom. Everything. True.
Yep. Even if it's just 2 or 3 people,
Yep.
they exist.
Yeah. Rule 67, 90% of fan fiction is the stuff of nightmares.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can also confirm this one. Thanks for everything. Like they comment. You just like, thanks, guys.
And of course, one of my favorite thing about the rules of the internet is they're not even necessarily in numerical order.
That's true, but they make so much sense
Mhm.
because you read them and they're just the psychological matters of what's become of the internet. They're not rules; they're just happenstance of what's become a norm.
At this
Because
stage, they're just facts. That's
Yeah, they're
it's
just
just what it
facts.
is.
But I like they're called rules because it's sort of a misnomer, but it's fun to call it that.
Yeah.
It's called a rule, but it's not a rule. What were you gonna say?
I
Sorry.
nope. I was good. I hadn't thought of anything to say yet.
Okay. No, I thought you were gonna say something. No, it's all right. And rule number 77, which makes total sense: the internet makes you stupid, and
Yeah.
that goes along with this one, rule number 7. That
Mhm.
goes along with rule 12, rule 13. Again, I've gotta save this page. I would say I would go bookmark it. But again, these are, like you said, they're more fact than a rule because it's just been a proven stance over time. And I thought there was a rule 86, but I was wrong. It was rule 63 I was thinking of, which is the gender bending. And you could thank Japan for that one. But yeah,
Oh,
that
it
is
happened before Japan. I hate to tell you this. I mean,
well.
just look at
Oh,
the 80s cartoons. There was always a female kind of version of whatever character.
I will say this. You had cross-dressing was way back in the day in Shakespeare time where men dressed as women for a show. Well, not a show, but
It was more
theater.
because women didn't act.
Sometimes they still don't.
That's true.
Well, they act, but it's in the way of can be more in the way of manipulation, but anyone can do that in essence when you try to make that point. But that's just personal viewpoint of life experience, right?
Mhm.
Like when you live long enough, and that's a thing too, where it's I know people see the whole boomer stuff and all that, but at the end of the day, there is going to be an age disparity. Sorry, when you're going to have people, right? You're going to have people who have done well in their lives. I mean, they're not rich or whatever. They've done well in their lives as an experience factor, and they are trying to tell the younger kids, right? Look, try to do this, try to do that, try to not be too worried about it much, and all that stuff. And then you're gonna kids be like, yeah, whatever, boomer. And it's like there are some people out there, older people, who are very conniving, controlling, and all this other stuff. I mean, you've probably seen it as well, especially being a content creator.
Oh, and being old.
Yeah, that too. Sorry. But the thing of it is, right, is that there is a point of experience where I'm not going to know everything. Obviously, I'm 36, but there are things you can point out to say that are true. You're just like, look, guys, I get it. You want to do all this stuff, but kind of think just ahead once. Just think ahead, especially with the money factor, right? And you see everyone's being getting downed on because politics or whatever. I could give a last regretting care for politics, but at the end of the day, it's about just passing on information that you hope will be helpful, right? I don't know if you do that through your end or you just like
I mean, when people ask for help, I try to give them what help I can, and sometimes when they don't ask for help, I try to give them what help I can. I'm always happy to give advice. It's whether or not somebody chooses to follow it, and I also can't guarantee it's good.
What rule was that?
That's just a rule of life. Are you kidding me? That's the more advice you give, the more likely you are to give bad advice.
True, but I think nowadays there's just too much bad advice coming from all different angles that it's hard for people who are starting to grow up, whether it be from high school, college, whatever. It's kind of like I hate when I talk too much and my nose starts gunking up on me. It's a buildup, but it's just when you see this stuff, right? When you like the relationship stuff, right? And you see all these different sides come together, like I'm right, you're wrong scenario. You could take the whole Pearl thing, Tate thing, or whatever you want to talk about. And
Mhm.
it's just a form of manipulation and using data, right? Using stats or whatever to try to make a point of things, right? I get it. But at the end of the day, stats, what was it? I remember Elon saying something. There was like a 75% point that statistics are wrong or whatever.
Well, I mean, it's something like 70% of statistics are made up on the spot.
Yeah, and it's sort of like, but again, it's humans are taking in the account of the data, right? So anything taken account on the human factor is not going to be fully correct because there's going to be a point of memory
Mhm.
change, right? And bias. We all have bias. No one's exempt from it, right? You try to do your best to be objective or at least neutral in the sense of like this thing over here and this thing over here because you're not trying to get into a fight. You're trying to be like, okay, I could see the points here and here. Because again, just using the political point alone, you know that one side or the other, both sides have faults. One could be worse than the other, but we're all human in this, and we gotta step back from being the whole tag of the tribe sort of thing. That's why I keep that's why I keep saying to other people, it's like I don't my political thing is like I don't care because it's all BS.
Mhm.
All political identities are BS. They're all tags for the tribe. They always will be. They always have been. There's no difference between when it happened during the Roman times and during when it happens now. During when you had chieftains and kings and all this stuff, not much has changed in the aspect of the psychological matter because power is power. And if you have the bigger stick, whether it be a nuclear weapon or some other hand,
Mhm.
it doesn't change the fact that power is power. I don't care what other people think. Power is power. It just depends if you have the bigger stick or not.
Yeah. Well, yes and no. Just because you have the bigger stick doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win. You have
True.
to be willing to use it. That's a huge part of having uh the being willing to use violence and knowing how to use it properly is a big deal. If you can't properly apply your if you're going to call violence power, if you can't properly apply your power, you will lose it. If you don't know when and where to use it, eventually you might have a big stick, but if you have one big stick and people come at you with 500 big sticks, you're fucked.
Yeah, it's a number game. It's a numbers game at that point. But yeah, it's like you've seen those movies with villains, right? They monologue, they go on too long, and their downfall is they're not paying attention. Same
Mm-hmm.
thing happened with people like kings and queens, right? They got to a point where they had all this power, but they got too big for their britches. I said britches, not the other one. And but you see there's that human flaw where you get too much on that power scale and you forget there's always that chink in the armor. There's always that chink in the armor that once someone finds it, you can be betrayed. You can be tossed to the wolves. It's not out of the realm of possibility to where you and I, if we had some form of big power, we can have a downfall just as quick. It's
Mm-hmm.
that easy. What is it saying? The bigger you are, the harder the fall. I think that's how it goes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah.
Yeah, at least that's how I remember it goes. I could be wrong.
That's the way it normally works. Is people get too big, they get too prideful, and then they forget to pay attention and think that their size and the fear other people have of them will protect them. When eventually fear turns against you, you cannot rule with fear forever.
With it alone, there's other factors, but you can't rule with just fear. Otherwise, as you say, it turns it gets cold on my camera.
No.
Sometimes when it gets fuzzy, I have to turn it on and
Turn
off
off
to
and
get
on.
that
Yeah.
refocus. But yeah, it's just yeah, it's the hard. What is it? The pride cometh before the fall. All these different things, and that's the thing with. Actually, before we continue, all right. So again, it's the top of the hour, and you've been on here before. I don't know if I did it with you when you were on
Yeah.
last time, but at the top of the hour of every hour, to explain to the audience, I do a thing where I set aside some time for us to promote ourselves. Grifting and shilling and all these other ones, they have negative connotations to it. I'm not in it for the whatever. I'm in it for promoting ourselves to try to make the connections of other people having on. I've had a little over I've had at least close to 50 different people on. Sometimes some coming on multiple times. Having over 50 different people on, I don't know of anyone, especially within a 2 month period of time. I don't know of anyone who's I mean, it probably has, but I don't know if anyone I've followed that has had that when having different people on. So I could be wrong though. I could be wrong. But anyway, um, it's a period of point setting aside for me and the other person to promote ourselves, promote what we're doing, because again, I feel like what I'm doing with the pit streams, you got paying it forward, paying it back, whatever. Because HorrorAmorata has her stuff, and she's giving me her time to come on here to just chat about whatever silly stuff that comes across our way, especially when you're looking up the rules of the internet. So,
Mhm.
go ahead, Miss Amorata. I have put your links down below. So it was what 2 weeks ago I started using Linktree, and it's so much easier.
Oh yeah.
It is so much easier than all this stuff. So
Yeah, it's nice having all your links in one place.
yes. So go ahead, good miss.
Well, if you want to catch me streaming, I'm not doing so much right now just because I am doing daily videos.
Hmm.
And there are only so many hours in the day, and I still have to work a day job. So the daily videos have kind of taken over my life. But if you want to see me streaming, you can usually see me on Saturday, Sunday, Monday or Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. I am on my own channel. Monday, I am an actual person where I chat with my friend Starsan. We talk about animals, and
Nice.
then we yell about people. And on Tuesdays, you can actually find me on Brahma Bull's channel where we play party games generally, party animals. Last time we played Jackbox, but whatever. It's just hanging out and laughing with friends and playing games at the same time. Every day on my Abysmal Critic channel, you can watch a video about video gaming news or whatever else I have managed to post. Typically video gaming news, occasionally little video gaming drama, but it's usually video game focused. So if you want to keep up on whatever is going on, my most recent video is the current Grum's doxing drama and going through all the tweets that led up to the events where we kind of currently are on hold.
Right.
So if you're wondering what happened there, that's what I got it all in one handy place for you.
Yeah, and you also, I think you mentioned your D&D gaming thing, right? With
oh yeah, we play D&D every other Sunday. So not this Sunday, but next Sunday we'll be playing another session of D&D.
And this isn't the tabletop version. This is the computer game
No,
version.
this is tabletop. Well, we do so we do two different things. Normally on Saturdays we do Neverwinter Nights, which is an old video game from the early 2000s, which is based on D&D. It's in the Forgotten Realms setting, but rules, as you will hear one of my friends constantly complain about, the rules do not hold particularly close to actual tabletop D&D. And then every other Sunday we do a tabletop version of 3.5 gameplay. We're learning to use Tailspire, and that's fun.
Oh, nice. Yeah, because I came in on one point where you're doing, I think it was the one you mentioned where it's just like you guys were going through a cave and stuff and all that, and I was just like, oh, that's pretty interesting because it reminded me of RuneScape.
Yeah, that would have been the Neverwinter Nights that we were playing.
Yeah, because I remember back in the day I was playing RuneScape almost all the time, and then after a certain point I was like, meh. I I've got 200, almost 200 games on Steam and games on Epic. I'm done. I can't play games much anymore because I'll get into it after this. Anyway, and her link tree is down and below. Again, I'm using Linktree too. It's free. It just helps put everything in one place and people can go and click wherever. It just makes things so much easier. Just like me using Opus.pro, Canva, it just makes the whole process a little easier. And I think, again, use the tools that work well for you, and it works pretty well for me. I bring up my thing. Okay, so I don't the only set thing I have is my Pay It Forward streams, and that's 7 p.m. Eastern every Friday, but not this Friday because of course it's Memorial Day weekend in the U.S. and I will be off, so I'm not gonna do anything tomorrow, but I will on the 31st. So hope you'll join me for that. I do try to reach out to other people I've had on to join me for them because I know I don't think I've ever seen someone do a Pay It Forward stream on YouTube, but for me I do on Rumble because one it is starting out, and I can do a lot more with very little. Like on YouTube, you only get a certain amount of characters per amount you give, and with Rumble, doesn't matter what amount you give, you get the same amount of characters, and I'd rather do that way. A little can go a long way. So, but anyway, I streamed to both YouTube and Rumble at Daramouthe. And funny enough, I just got 2 more subscribers and on YouTube, so I have some. I had 60. I had 69.
They ruined it. How could they?
No, I'm glad because after a while I was like, I'm gonna get those jokes and stuff. So, but the shorts are helping me grow on that part for. So I will say this again, like with the conversation earlier, I don't like doing the numbers very much because it feels like I'm bragging. I feels like I'm doing this sort of thing where it's not about the conversation stuff. It's about, oh, look, he's getting all these numbers up. I'm not trying to call anyone either. It's just from my perspective. That's what it feels like to me. I have a lot more on Rumble, like almost 250 at this point. But the thing of it is, it's like this is the main focus. Everything else after the point is a bonus. It's a wonderful, appreciated bonus, donos, likes, all those things. They're a bonus to this because I get to talk to VTubers. I get to talk to other content creators. I get to talk to non-content creators. I get to just talk to regular people. And I feel for following all the people I do, I feel like I'm doing something that not those creators weren't doing or they weren't reaching out because there's so many. You have I'll get into that after. I'm sorry. I got to promote myself.
You're fine.
I'm trying to have a conversation, but I'm getting lag behind just trying to get through my stuff. So anyway, I have a fan account on Twitter X at Daramouthe. I also have a Discord. It's mostly just for DMing. I have a server, but it's mostly for contacting because that plays on the Twitter X thing. I also have an email. Everything's in the link tree down below. Look, guys.
Sorry about that.
Excuse you. No, excuse you. I thought you sneezed there for a second.
No. There's literally there's a highway just off in front of my house. So every so often you get a loud truck or a motorcycle or something. And then there's the barking dog in the background, of course.
Fido! Quiet, Fido! Quiet! It's okay. It makes life a little more interesting.
Yeah.
But again, like with Coast Chan, like with Vapin Gamers, like Drag Tarlad, like with so many other people, if you'd like the same opportunity to come on, don't hesitate. Go to the link tree, follow the links, either to leave a comment on either YouTube or Rumble or Twitter X, the email, Discord. Look, I'm trying to make it as many ways possible as to get to me to say, hey, I'd like to come on, and we can go from there. I have 2 people already for June. On the
Nice.
28th. On the 28th, I will be opening up for scheduling for June, and I'm hoping my reach, the thing I'm going to reach for is to have every month till the end of the year full. Now, I'm not including weekends. Those are a special exception in case somebody can't do like Vex and heck in the why they couldn't do the weekdays. But I'm trying to reach for every month till the end of the year to have it full. Why? Because there's so many people to talk to. There's so many conversations to have. Even if you've heard the same conversation before, there's a different perspective with it. And that's what I aim for. Even the same person. I've had Jack Tarlad like 6 times now. You twice at this point. And I'm willing to have either old or new come on. But there's so many people and so little time, and I am looking forward to having every month's filled until the end of the year, other than for like holiday stuff, to having people on. So if you want to come on, the door is open. Just follow those places, leave a comment on either YouTube or Rumble, and let's get started. Because I'm telling you what, I've had so much fun with. There have been a few people who've had the difficulty of having a conversation, but I've been still able to keep it going because I'm just that good. But you get to see these different people. You get to look at the stuff they create, or if they don't create at all, you get to say hello and talk to them. And that's where it runs to the other part, right? Like, again, your help and my engagement helps me having more people on, right? Because I do the majority of the work. I ask them on. Sometimes they say yes, sometimes they no, sometimes they say maybe, and I have to check my stuff out, and I never hear from them again. But the reach is there with your help, right? Because it's my credit. You guys help build my credibility. I have to build my credibility as well. Obviously, I'm not being lazy about this, but it helps build my credibility, which means more reach to have more people on. And you guys get to benefit from that, right? Like guys get to see these people on both sides, right? I know you're on both sides as well, on YouTube and Rumble. But there may be some people who have never heard of you before, and now they get to see you and like, oh, there's this other person I could check out and follow or whatever. That's the point. I become this hub of connection. For a lot of different people, whether they are creators or not. It doesn't matter. It's just people connecting with people to have fun and different connections, because at the end of the day, there's yelling, there's screaming, there's talking past each other. And all we really need to do is sit down and have a conversation. Whether we agree or not, that's a totally different aspect. But just to sit down and have a conversation is what I'm aiming for. And what you guys do is you get to help in that and bring people on. So, and you get to do it, and it's free. A like costs nothing. A comment costs nothing. A follow costs nothing. Even if you don't watch me all the time, whatever, a follow doesn't cost anything, but it helps. And people saying, hey, that guy has had a lot of people following him. I maybe go on the show and talk about it, right? Like, I don't know. After what Sheep City told me, I don't know if I'll even get Young Rippa on to even just have a chat, because he'll be more like into what he does. And that's totally fine. But just to
never hurts to ask him. But
just to have him on to have a conversation about whatever, because I'm sure he gets enough of with what he does, the comic stuff, the mainstream stuff and all that, but just to have a conversation about whatever, like to go wherever. Don't know, but I'm going to try. Stuff like that, people like that. And it's not just aiming for people who are seen as well-known or whatever, well-connected. It's about reaching across the table to different people of different perspectives about whatever. Like, I'm not here for debates. I'm not here for arguments. Those things you can leave for the people who want that, for the drama tubers, whatever. I'm here to have conversations with people, because it seems like we have less of those and more of I'm right, you're wrong.
Yep.
So your open engagement helps me have more different people on, helps build the credibility that they may give me the chance to coming on here. So do whatever you do one of them, do all of them, doesn't matter. Your help means a lot, and I appreciate it a lot. And of course, having people like Amorata, who is just so beloved by so many people. It's
at least 3.
like,
yeah.
Just, when I heard Neurotic's name, I was like, yep, she's made it.
Yeah, Gary, that man's great. I don't know.
When he messed up your channel,
the new channel, I did not anticipate that the word abyssal was going to be so difficult for so many people to say. I mean, I thought for sure that, I mean, I kind of understood a little when Jeremy screwed it up. Jeremy is Jeremy. But when fucking Gary made the same mistake, and I'm like, what the hell? This man has read Tolkien and he can't say abyssal. And he's not sure what the word means. I am terrified now. But apparently not a lot of people know the word. It's a thing, and it's just fucking weird. Come on, guys.
So you're saying that you were going for the word abyssal, right?
Yeah, the original name was the Abyssal Critic, but
Okay.
Jeremy called it the Abysmal Critic.
Uh-huh.
And then Gary couldn't say it.
Yeah.
Abyssal? And no. No, that's not the word. And then Jeremy jumps in and goes off on his thing. And it's like, you know what? I'm just changing it. We're just going with it at that point.
Well, I mean, it works too. You've seen how the meme stuff works for, D-Day Cobra.
Oh, yeah.
You know how, just like the 199 part and the skinny part, it's worked out well for him because it becomes it becomes part of the tapestry of the memeing and all that stuff. So memes have a power to them. I mean, just think about all the memes we had during like the early 2010s and stuff. It was like, what was it? The baby with the fist thing. And then you had like the guy with the braces and stuff and all that.
Mhm.
Or was it the Velociraptor one?
Velociraptor, yeah. Memes do definitely have a power. It's one of those pictures speak 1,000 words thing. And then you add a couple extra words and all of a sudden you got something entirely new. So it's amazing how much can be communicated with a meme and how influential they can be. But at the same time, it's also a little scary how often people will read something on a picture with funny wording or something and absolutely believe what that picture says without taking a few moments to research just a little further and see if what they're being told in the amusing way actually helps. And it's always good to remember to double check everything.
Well, but it's like with shorts, right? Shorts are a quick way of giving a quick it's a quick introduction to what's going on with your stuff, right? Like that's why shorts is a big thing on for most like TikTok, right, and all that stuff. But the thing of it is, right, is memes are in the same branch of that. They are a quick hit point to getting people to see you and your stuff, and then following and all that stuff there. That's why, again, the short factor can work depending on how well you work. Like, not every short I put up is a grand, it's going to get me whatever. But when it does work, you can see some results from it. And so that's why I know, like you said, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and then you add a few words to it. That's how memes work. They're just a shortcut for people to use. And you're right. People will, same with shorts, they will have a point of cutting out context, and you'll just be like, oh, so that must be true. And you're like, if you go and look over at the whole portion of it or look or research, you get a more understanding. And these shortcut things take away of that more understanding, and they just become yep, it's true. A pure, straightforward, believable. And it's same thing with statistics, same thing with all this stuff. You can have all these things that will be a shortcut thing in the human brain, and it'll be a huge just believe it sort of thing, when in case it's not wholly true, right? But that's just a point of perspective. I can be wrong as well. I'm not like Houdini here. I don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
But
well, obviously he didn't either.
Yeah, well, but he got well known so far that his name is still being wrong.
Yep.
But it's just, I don't know. I get the for and against for shorts. I mean, TikTok especially, but TikTok is more of Chinese psychological warfare. That's what TikTok is. It's just the China psychological warfare. It's just a shortcut to the dopamine hit in the human brain, and you have a bunch of kids using it, right? A bunch of teens using it, and they can be influenced through that manner of speaking, right? It can happen. You just need enough slow drips for things to change, because you see the whole Palestine thing and all this other stuff, and yeah, there's trouble with that. But I don't think, from my perspective, I don't think banning is going to change that. You have to find a way to break it off or whatever in order to kind of lessen China's, a country's power over another through that process, because again, it is a psychological warfare, just like you hear about the stories that Alex Jones gives of
Mm-hmm.
Mockingbird and MK Ultra and all these things, because they were a psychological warfare of government on its people.
Mm-hmm.
TikTok is no different. No matter how much they deny it, it is China using psychological warfare on people around the country. Because if they
Yeah.
aren't showing the same thing to their own people in their own country, then it's not about all this cool funny thing, whatever. It's about psychological warfare. And I see very few people acknowledge that, but they also want to do the banning thing, and that runs into the First Amendment stuff in the US. It's just a mess. It really is. So what are your thoughts on that, on the TikTok stuff?
I'm not into it myself, but I don't like the short content can be okay
Mm,
in small spurts, but overall it has a tendency to be too short with not enough substance for me.
mhm,
So while you can do a lot of really fun, cool things in the space of a TikTok, a lot of people choose not to do that.
mhm.
They choose to do other things, which realistically are just dumb in my mind.
Right.
And I don't have it's so pretentious, and I hate saying it because it's just a fact of life for me is I hate dealing with stupidity. And I I can understand to some degree why some people do, but if I can literally feel it killing brain cells, I don't want anything to do with it.
That's
I don't.
that's a lot of
And
people.
I yeah, but I don't really see. We're kind of in an interesting spot in the evolution of humanity right now.
Yeah.
We are being thrown more information in 5 minutes than a lot of humans dealt with in their entire lifetimes, not even 100 years ago.
Mhm.
There is more information out there, more stuff for you to look at, more stuff for you to experience from your home right now than most people would ever see, think, or experience over their entire lifetime once upon a time.
Yep.
And we have more time to do it too because of technology and everything making actual living so much easier. And people don't think about that either because life has gotten so much easier for us to live
Mhm.
that people think that going to an air conditioned building and sitting behind a desk for 8 hours and then going home where you have heat, running water, clean stuff, electricity, and food,
Mhm.
easily created food, and half the time you may not even cook it yourself. There at your home is harder than waking up at the crack of dawn, going out, feeding your animals, making sure they're all healthy, making sure that you have some water in the house and that it is clean enough for you to drink, making sure that your crops are growing in, making sure that you have any kind of food in your house because you are making your own food from you're growing it and then making sure it's there, hunting down the food if you're not one of the people lucky enough to have a herd of something that you can kill or fish.
Mhm.
That people think that was easier. That was survival from the moment you woke up in the morning till the moment you managed to go to bed at night.
Yeah.
There was no break. There was no, I'm just going to go read a book.
Mhm.
There was none of that. People didn't have the time to do that because literally all they were doing was fighting to survive. And the human brain evolved to handle that. Right now, the human brain is struggling to evolve to deal with the fact that there isn't a constant threat on it. There
Mhm.
isn't, you don't have to worry about disease literally sneaking out of your water and killing you 9 times out of 10. You don't. You might have a sniffle or a cold that goes around and kills a few extra people every now and then. But our healthcare is so advanced that for the most part, it's not going to wipe everybody out.
Right.
Our lives are so much more relaxed that we are now worried. We're now worried more about things like who we sleep with than we are about if we're going to eat or not.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the fact that a lot of people haven't gotten used to the fact that once you reach a certain point, you have to start looking internally for things to fix, because externally it's all gone. It's over. Your needs are taken care of.
Right.
The only thing I need externally right now are dogs that don't bark, but those don't technically exist.
Get out of here! Get out! Mama's busy.
Well, now they're downstairs. They're barking because sheep ran out to grab us some dinner, and he's coming home, and they're letting me know that someone's in the house. So that's what they're for. They do their job very well, even if very irritatingly.
Oh my goodness! I was just like, "What the heck's going on back there?" Jeez, they're getting angry. No, but that's the point of where, like, if our power goes, right? Like, and this happened a while ago. I just saw a clip of a Conan clip, right? You know, Conan O'Brien, and there was a blackout in the Northeast in 2003 because their station, they didn't have power or whatever for having people in. If our power goes out in the U.S. as a whole, forget everything you know, because it won't help you when it doesn't come back on again. If you think a storm, right, a thunderstorm, right, and it's very bad, it takes your power out for a week. Try months to never.
Yep.
Because once that happens, your neighborhood will no longer be a neighborhood. Just telling you right off the bat.
I think that depends on where you live.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, in your community as well. If it's a tight-knit community, sure. But at a certain point, it's going to break down. Everything's going to break down if there's no electricity. Because once it's gone, forget it. Right? If there's some...
That depends. If you're talking inner city wise, yeah, that's how it's going to be, because there are no resources there for them to rely on, as opposed to waiting for other people to bring them to them. When you are in an inner city, a large city, anything like that, where you're basically just surrounded by buildings and everything in your stores is brought in by a truck, you're kind of screwed if things go wrong, versus someone who lives, well, where I live, in a small town, where we have literally a river right down over here. So if we need water, we can still get water. There are farmers not that far away, so we will still be able to have access to various types of food. There are a lot of non-local things we'll no longer have access to. Clothing will get a little difficult while we figure that out. But realistically, turning on each other, unless there is some other precipitating need, it's going to be a little less likely to occur, just because there's so much more stuff to rely on, so many more resources that can be drawn upon. So there's less of a need to attack your neighbor, when actually working with your neighbor would be far more beneficial to you.
Right. No, I understand that. I'm just going on the basis that not everyone is going to be in that, like, small town, sure, right? Or rural areas, they may have a better chance. But at the end of the day, when you have those breakdowns in the inner cities, right, where it's probably going to get more rioty and more tumultuous.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to eventually spread out, because once let's say if the power goes out, right, the border stuff is going to become an open scar that's just going to be like a festering wound, and there's not going to be anyone there to stop it, right? So you're going to have more that, and it's just going to be a massacre to some degree. But like you said, if you're in a small town and small neighborhood, whatever, you'll have a better chance. It's just big cities, inner cities, all that stuff, there's going to be less of a chance, and it can be very disastrous. So that's why, with us being so interconnected with electricity, right? And again, content creators will stop being a thing. So you'll have to start learning something
it's,
else.
it's important to have other skills. Thankfully, I have a number of other skills. So
Yeah. No, I would, and I would suggest that too, is like, if you don't know anything else, try, there are books you can get at a library. I know library's a old thing, right? You go to libraries like, oh, look at that. You can just do that much on your phone. But if you ever have an opportunity, go and learn about, like, if anything at all, if you learn how to purify water by just using the things around you, you are having a better shot at having an extra skill. But not only that, but if stuff does go down, that you'll be able to your skills you go. They're called life skills. Like knowing how to start a fire, filter water, maybe sew. If you don't know, I mean, you could buy a kit and stuff like sewing holes or whatever. But it's the thing of like just learning, doing one thing, just doing. Are you eating?
I may or may not be eating a chip.
I was like, I heard a crunch. It's like, I think she's eating, because I know you said sheep was getting you food, so I didn't want to keep you if you have your food. So, but yeah, it's even if it's just one thing, right? If you know a skill, it would be beneficial, because again, I doubt there are many people who have something and I eat it. Hey, that's her. You have to ask her. If she's not willing to share, you're out of trouble, and she can melt your mind because
Yeah,
she's
no,
maddening.
and only if you like jalapeno potato chips. If you don't, then
No.
you're screwed. I will say one thing is, even if you don't necessarily have the skills now,
Mhm.
invest in a book with skill instructions in it.
Yeah.
Because while you may not have the time now,
Mhm.
eventually, if it comes to that point where there is no internet, you can still follow a book. A book does not require electricity.
Yeah.
So the written word will never entirely go out of style, just because there are things that need to be preserved beyond the what electronics can handle. Having everything backed up on the cloud in a hard drive isn't going to do you much good when you can't access that. It's kind of like, it's one of the few things that I don't like about Bitcoin. Without
Mhm.
electricity, how are you accessing that money?
It's yeah.
So at that point, it kind of means nothing.
Mhm.
And so having a book of survival skills, and that anything about camping, or like you said, fire building,
Mhm.
water purification, things about making your own fabrics, I mean, the things people don't think about that we need something else to do for us
Mhm.
are astounding.
Yeah.
Making fabric, just making thread so that you can make fabric,
Mhm.
is an extreme process. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. And the fact that we have machines that do it all for us now makes our lives so much easier. To
Mhm.
have clothes to wear once upon a time was
Mhm.
a lot harder than
Yeah.
it is now. People had to make their own clothes. They
Yeah.
didn't go to the store and buy a new suit. They made a suit.
Mhm.
And they still dress nicer than we do today.
Hey, now, no. But no, you're not. At this point, only the Amish will be the ones we have to compete with. And so when you think about it, they'll be far ahead than most people will be, because one, they farm their own food, they make their own stuff. I mean, I'm not trying to give credit where it's due, at least, but you're not wrong. It's like, and again, you have to be careful, because a book can also be burned. So if you haven't saved that information in some form or another, like non-digitally, once the book is burned, you're kind of screwed as well. So in essence, it's best to get, and there are
Put it in a
plenty.
firebox, you'll be fine.
Well, yeah. My thing is, like, if you don't know, go and try to find people who have done survival skills. There's a guy I follow on YouTube. Is called the Colonel or something like that. He's an old Marine dude. He used to be in the Marines, and
Mhm.
he does bushcraft. He does all this stuff, and I don't know if he writes a book or not, but he may be connected to people who do, or may, at a store thing or whatever. Just collect seeds and pots. See, there you go. Some people grow vegetables and stuff on the side.
I
It's
grow
just,
vegetables. I have a vegetable garden.
oh, really? Do you have a raised bed in the
I
ground?
do
What do you
raised beds right now.
Raised bed.
My ground here is unfortunately, there used to be a copper smelter up on the hill, so there's too much lead and copper in the dirt in the soil itself to grow directly into the soil.
Oh,
So instead, I use raised beds.
yeah, and that sucks. I mean, because I imagine you guys are probably in Texas, because that's where Ripa is his stuff is at. Um, but hey, are you gonna go to that thing in June as well? The
No, actually, we are in Montana,
oh, sorry, apologies.
so that was announced a little too close for us to really be able to get down there. So
That's understandable. But yeah, it's just my goal is to make Animal Crossing, but in real life.
it's a good idea.
Well, okay. I was thinking like, well, there's the train station, there's other stuff, but I haven't played Animal Crossing in a while, so that shows you how old my knowledge is. But yeah, it's just if you can, it's not like go out and buy a ton of books, but if you like the Boy Scouts, right? There's probably some old Boy Scout books out there where they have stuff. Um, Survivalists, what was the one guy who had the show? Survivor Man, was it? I can't remember if that was him.
Bear Grylls.
No, Bear Grylls has his own issues, but there was a guy called Survivor Man or something like that, and he would go out and he would actually do like himself, just a camera, whatever, and survive.
Mhm.
But again, you were right. Get a book, keep it with you. Try to keep some sort of thing like a bug out plan, right? Like a fire comes if you live out in an area where there's a lot of woods, whatever. Um, medicinal is always a good one to learn. I know you're not going to be like
Herbology, yeah.
herbology. Oh my gosh, doing different herbs and stuff. There's so much to learn, and you can make a hobby out of it, right? Like,
Mhm.
if you're a content creator, you can also make content out of it. But the point of the matter is doing it for personal necessity, because again, we've grown to rely a lot on the systems we've built, but we just saw during the C-19 situation, right, back a few years ago, how fragile those systems are.
Hmm.
And we haven't changed much since then. So it's going to come to a point where a skill you learn, and especially if you get a group of people together, now obviously doing groups of people together can have its own issues too, because tribalism and whatnot. But at the end of the day, if you have a skill that's useful, you could be someone that passes it on, that shares that knowledge, so that it's not just stuck to you. Again, even in the business world, right? And in my job, there are a few people within certain areas that know that one thing. But once they're gone or get fired, that one thing they knew that no one else does can cause a whole lot of problems. Same thing with survivaling stuff like that. If you know it and can pass it on and can make it just a part of things, right? You have done more for surviving, or just as a necessity, if you will, than looking at your phone and having arguments on Twitter X will do. And
Yep.
so like the Cthulhu says, be wise, read more.
It's always good to read more. It's always good to just have more knowledge in general. Just because you don't have to do anything in this life, doesn't mean that you can't figure out something
Yeah.
that you don't have. It's just nice having the skills to do some of these things on your own. Even if you don't ever need to know how to, even if you don't need to ever know how to do them, it's nice to have the ability to just do it. It gives you a type of freedom that
Yes.
you don't normally feel. It actually builds self-esteem in many ways. So if you're one of these people out here who have a lot of anxiety and a lot of problems, feeling like you're out of control in the world, I highly recommend picking up some form of hobby that has you creating something. Planting, gardening, crocheting, anything in which when you are done, you have a product to show for your time will greatly help not only teach you to focus, but it will give you that sense of accomplishment that you may not be getting somewhere else right now.
Right. And yeah, and like you said, right, it's, you can have a physical representation of like how to do this sort of thing, right, like a book or whatever, um, because that will help in keeping the knowledge. But again, like you said, it will even if you just do it for yourself, right, not for like
Mhm.
when the stuff hits the fan or whatever, because you see too many of those doomsayers online anyway.
Yeah.
Do it for you. Find something that works well for you. Like you stick with it. I mean, it may not start out great at first, but if you stick with it for a while, it works out well, and you invest more into it, and it becomes a fun thing to you. Because again, if it's just a work thing to you, you'll start losing more interest in it more and more. If it becomes a fun factor to you, like you like learning about all this other stuff, and there's connecting ribbons to it, like there's this connecting piece over here and over there, it can work well for you. And again, there's going to be a time, right, that our reliance on these things that we've created are going to fail. It's just part of that ordeal. And those one thing, two thing, three thing, whatever that you've built up over time, and it can be used to help to whatever, you've just built up something that can be a life thing, right?
Mhm.
Like sewing. My grandparent has been sewing since she was a young child, 1940s, whatever, right? And she still does it, and it's worked well for interior designing and all these other things too, right? It's not just sewing, like you said, planting, farming, all those things have a learning experience to it. Like even if you did have those farmers near you, right? You'd still have to give some like a bartering. You'd have to create a whole new bartering system because you don't have a financial aspect anymore. You have to create this sort of what can I exchange for this sort of thing, right? Like, and
Mhm.
that's where those skills can be of use.
Yep,
Just
it never hurts to develop more skills. Even if you think this skill is useless in today's world, it doesn't hurt to have it. It gives you something to do with your time, it gives you something to do with your mind, and it very often, you don't know how often these skills actually turn into side businesses for many people.
yeah,
So, and even if you're not looking at like that, at least you're doing something with your time that isn't scrolling through Twitter, that isn't scrolling through Twitch, that isn't watching TikToks, and gives you something that you can actually use or somebody else can actually use.
right. And again, you can, while you still have it, right? Because we'll never know when this thing goes out. While
Mm-hmm.
you still have it, you can use the internet for that as well. Just get physical copies of things that deal with making fire or whatever, because again, if the power goes out, at least you have something that's physical in your hand that says this is the process of doing it, and getting the experience doing it in your hand. Like, I'm not, if you're an arsonist, you're already there for making fires, but I mean, but use it for a goodness at this point. Don't try to woo, lighting up fireworks, not inside. That'd be that'd be the worst. You're just like, look, I meant it as a building a skill, not like
Right.
build this thing in like Walmart and just watch it go up.
Some days.
Oh goodness. But no, but again, it, like you said, it can have a use beyond just the surviving factor.
Mhm.
But you'll never know until you do it. Right? And yeah, you're right. There is a freedom to it, and I
Mhm.
wholly agree with that, because we're too wrapped up in these things that either for a job, content creation, whatever you want to call it, because that's what's required of us, right?
Yep.
Your phone, right? Your cell phone. You need your cell phone. Obviously, talk to family, talk to friends.
Yep.
That's more of just like whatever. But you have a job you'll need it for. You have bills you need it for, and all this other stuff. But when you can put it down for a period of time and just not worry about it, right? Because our connection to this thing it's like Candy Crush. You remember when
Mhm.
Candy Crush came out?
Oh
And
yeah.
that was people would just pay for all these special things, whatever. It became so popular, and they made a lot of money off of it, but it was so addictive, so addictive. It was worse than other addictions out there, because you would just like hitting that dopamine in the head. And it's worse for kids, because once they get their hand on this technology and they are giving almost unbridled freedom with it, you are handing your child their addiction that they won't know how far to get past them, and it will take years to get from that. I mean, I don't know about your end, but I've said this, I've started saying this previously. Any tool humans have created will always have a double-edged sword to it.
Oh yeah.
It's just a fact.
Any tool that can be used to create can also be used to destroy. It's just the way it is.
The best example I give is the pencil was created for drawing, writing, all this stuff. But if you're John Wick, it's also been used to kill too. So
Well, not just by him. Plenty of people have used a pencil to kill, and not necessarily just by stabbing somebody with it.
yeah.
There are many ways to kill a person that doesn't involve ever you touching them. So the number of pencils that have killed are probably higher than the number of guns.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, right, it's like your whole house is full of things that can take somebody out.
Oh yeah. Yep. In the room you're in right now, there's probably 100 things that could kill somebody.
Well, I mean, I do my rock thing, so that's more true than not. But it's just like adding toilet bowl cleaner and some form of like acid. Dude, you could make your own. You probably could make your own, gas bomb at home. I don't recommend it.
Can. You absolutely can.
I don't recommend it, but I'm just saying you are in a place where you can go to a store and a majority of things in there most likely kill you anyway, just for the eating factor. But still, it's when you can sit down and when you can either have that conversation or whatever, and just like, wait a second, you're saying toilet bowl cleaner is like, yes. If you use it wrong, it can. Oh, that's right. This is from when what's his name? Played the Joker in the second of the trilogy.
Oh,
Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says that. And it's true.
Yep.
He made it disappear. It was like can't die, it's gone.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
What one person considers a trick.
Yeah. Well, trick can have different meanings nowadays.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my goodness, dear Lord. It's always nice to have to chat with you, HorrorAmorata. We get into these places where it's just like, I didn't think about this before. But I don't think I've ever gone into talking about building those skills beyond the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Because do we ever? I mean, how just in the vicinity of the people you know through the content creator side, how many people of them do you know have something that's outside a skill wise?
A lot of them.
Really?
I know a lot of people who have skills outside the screen, ones that you wouldn't necessarily anticipate. For example, Quarter Black Garrett does gardening. He grows a lot of his own food.
Well, he has
Comics division has an entire ranch.
Really? Well, for Quarter Black Garrett, he has enough kids.
He has 5 kids, so yeah. It's kind of helpful for him to be able to do that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, a lot of them have some other skill outside of YouTube. A lot of the more prominent YouTubers had other jobs and other things they did before they ever even became YouTubers. Mm-hmm. So the fact that they happen to be good enough to content create as a living is a side effect of the fact that they did other things first. And in many cases, that's what makes a person more interesting, is the fact that they did put effort into doing other things first, because it developed character, it developed ideas, it developed confidence. It gave them things to talk about. Mm-hmm. And that is what makes being a content creator easier, especially if you're not trying to sell a persona as opposed to especially if you're trying to be a genuine person instead of selling a persona.
Yeah, and that's why I try to keep as humble. I won't say as honest because sometimes you're gonna omit things, right? You're not gonna say
Mhm.
everything. Someone asks you a question, you say pass. You're admitting that you're not gonna say this thing, right?
Yep.
Um, and that's fine within its great whatever. But um, dang it, I forget where it's going. Um, but yeah, it's just like with this, like for me, I've worked many different jobs. I've worked car cleaning. I've worked in the food industry. I mean, I've worked in an event setup for like areas, but doing this right here has more benefited my conversational skills because I talk to a lot of different people. And yeah, it's not face to face, that's a little different, but I still get to whatever, right? And of course, when in the comparison of like what is the similar for these things, right? Like I've done it like my show is sort of a cross between Whose Line Is It Anyway and Craig Ferguson because there's an improvisational skill to that, more Mark, right?
Yeah.
If you've seen Whose Line, it's just about improvisation, and
Oh
I love
yeah, I love
I
Close
love
Whose
see,
Line.
yeah, yeah, I love scenes from Hat because it's just that raw formness of it. You just give a
Mhm.
scene. Oh, and by the way, I will mention I did have an idea for a new thing as an addition to this. I'll run it by you before we end this stream today.
Okay.
Um, but but also Craig Ferguson too, right? Like, yeah, he's a big flirt. You see it with the ladies he's had on, and he's married, but he's a big flirt with them. And to be honest with you, it's all celebrities one way or another. But I mean, there are a lot of hot ladies out there. Um, just depending on your point of view, because everyone has a different view of what they consider hot. Like dad bods was a thing many years ago.
Dad
So,
bods have always been a thing. I don't know what anybody's talking about.
well, you can't, and you see these guys on the big screen, right? Like Chris Hemsworth, or whatever. You can't always have those type of bodies because it requires dehydration. It requires a very strict diet, and a lot of
Yeah.
people can make that.
Well, and
Um,
it's also a really strict workout routine, and
yeah,
it's a lot of things that your average person can't do.
Kind requires lots of money.
Yep.
But gosh dang it, forgetting my point of stuff. But yeah, just when Craig Ferguson did his thing, even with the guys, you'd see this do this thing or whatever. And for me, it's just like, I know when vaping was on, he's like, having questions, whatever. But I'm just like, I have an example of a guy, Scottish guy. He was
Mhm.
on almost every night, and he would take the question cards and just rip them up and tear them up, and he would just go. He
Mhm.
would just convert. Now, if it was a woman, obviously, at some point or another, it's going to end up in the sex category. But that's just because there's a building of comfortability with that, right? Like he got
Yeah.
comfortable with them, and he did all this stuff like out of the ordinary. But he could have a conversation about whatever, and that's what I'd like to do. I get the topic faction, I really do, but for me, it's like we 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 already have enough content creators in these spheres talking about these things. You already have enough people talking about the entertainment industry. You already have
Mhm.
enough people talking about the politic, whatever, or the military, or all this stuff. And I'm just here like I could do all of that.
Yep.
I can take a Chex Mix bowl and mix it. Even if I don't understand it all, I can sit with this person who has a better understanding of it, and we can share that information, and we can have a fun time with it, and it can go so many places. Yes, again, a lot of content creators, when I ask them, come on, I was like, what's the topic going to be about? And I do have a hard time trying to say it. Just start with you, and we'll go from there. And that will be the topic. Will be the conversation itself. But I'm always surprised. I'm always surprised when you have a free flowing conversation that can go anywhere, almost
Yep.
anywhere, right? Because there's some things you pass on. Like
Oh
you're
yeah.
not gonna, yeah, you're not gonna. There's some things you talk about that's not gonna talk about. That's fine. But I'm always surprised, and it keep being proved right, time and time again, when I do this. Like content, when I see people having guests on, they're usually like once a week or twice a week, right? I'm having guests on almost every weekday.
Yes, you are.
I'm surprised I could still keep that going, and I want to keep that going though. because I'm doing something that I'm not seeing a lot of content creators do, because one, they couldn't do it, they want to do other stuff. And
Yeah.
so it's totally understandable. But I'm doing something that's widely vast, but there's so many people. There's so many people and so many different perspectives. It's
Hmm.
unbelievable. It's unfathomable, right? It's unfathomable, but yet it is here. It is possible.
Yep.
I want to continue doing it. And it's no fake out on that either, because I get better at being conversational. I get
Hmm.
better at enjoying a time with some stranger across the way. And I have a vision of idea of it, if this becomes more successful, of how I'd like to do it. Because
Hmm.
I think I've mentioned before of like what I could see it possibly turning into, instead of it being across the screen, it could make enough that I could have a person there. And
Right.
you've already shown your face, so it's not like
Yeah, people have
out of
seen me before, so.
right. There's some people who don't want to be seen. That's totally fine. Um, but to just be able to physically bring someone there, right? And of course, to be like a guest house, whatever, if they and
Hmm.
their spouse want to stay, because it's a lot less money to pay for a hotel, and
Oh
hotels are
yeah.
expensive. They are expensive. Um, but it's just I see it. I don't know if it'll ever come true, because again, it's a time and money issue, right? It's always going to be a
Always.
money issue.
Yep.
It's always going to be an issue. But
Well, it's more of a time issue because people don't seem to understand that what you do with your time is how you make your money. Money is just a representation of the time you've put into something.
right,
And whether you feel like you're being paid an accurate amount for the time that you've spent,
mhm,
that's a person by person thing.
yeah,
The more valuable thing in your life is always going to be your time. So when
mhm,
you're deciding to do something or not, you really need to sit and look at it and think, is this worth my time for what I'm getting out of it? Because we only have so much time in this world.
yeah. And again, I will mention, like, for a majority of my life, I've just been wandering, because as an adult, no one tells you this is the path you should take. This is the manual right here. You don't get that. You have to figure it out for yourself.
Hmm.
Not even your parents are going to be able to tell you. They've already lived their life. They've already done their thing. So you have to figure it out. And college is not always going to be the answer. Maybe a trade is not always going to be an answer. I mean, it's a good answer, but it's not always going to be the answer. For me, I have a full-time job and it's great, but I enjoy doing this more because I get to talk to people. I've talked to people. I talked to a person from Alaska. I've talked to a few people from Australia. I've talked to many people across the US. I've talked to so many different people, and there are so many more. Maybe some
Yep.
won't ever talk to me, and that's fine. That's
Yep.
fine. But I'm doing this thing that I didn't see a lot of other people doing. I'm just like, why not? Right? Why not? And I want to. I want to continue it, because the only thing, of course, is the money factor, right? I care less for my full-time job. I care for enough to keep it and do the things I need to keep it.
Hmm.
But I care for this. I want this more because because of the people, the minds that come through, and the fun we can have out of it. We don't have to sit down and do these stupid debates and
Yep.
these stupid debacles and all this stuff that just doesn't seem to bring us forward. It's pathetic. It's a distraught. It doesn't bring anything better to the fold. But I can sit here with you, with uh, Phoenix Electra, with Lumpy, with Pudge TV, with all these different people, majority of them being creators, got it. But they're different perspectives,
Hmm.
different people. They come. Pudge TV used to be in the social media industry and all that stuff, doing it as a business. Well, he still does it for whatever. But I have
Do it for
that.
himself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yarn Witch. Yarn Witch does she makes coloring for yarn, and she does sewing stuff and all that. Phoenix Electra does sewing and all that stuff. I'm connecting to these people that have similar things that they do. More down the road, I will become the hub of connections of different people with similarities or dissimilarities. But the point of the matter is I become the point of connection for these people, and they can connect with each other, and it can grow and go beyond the scope of the screen. And that's what I want to aim for,
Hmm.
because I'm seeing more of this arguing, bickering negativity, and not enough what action can we take to make things better, right? Because it's always talk. We have to start talking, but it just seems to stay there. It just seems to stay in the talking section. It never moves into action. Again, Eric July, great example. He moved from the talking part.
Yep.
He put in parts of himself and he went to the action. Everything doesn't have to be great. Everything doesn't have to be gold coming out of him, but he's doing the action. How many people can say that?
Not a lot, unfortunately.
Not a lot. And you see a lot of people complain upon that
Yep.
Sorry, not success. Get it. I get it. But at the end of the day, action does more than words, because words are the beginning stage. Actions are bringing them to reality. And
Absolutely.
I think that's and I know you probably want to eat, so I think it's a great place to end this. Because I could keep going, but I got to get up in the morning too. So
Yeah. And it's
But-
late there. It's 10 for you now.
yeah, you're about an hour behind me, right?
2 hours.
2 hours, so you're 8.
Mhm.
Oh, you're 8 o'clock. Okay,
Yeah, it's just 8 o'clock. Yeah.
No, right. Not bad. But anyway, thank you, Amorata, for coming on. You are certainly a treasure among many of the people I've had on. Of course, you are a VTuber, but you also have shown your face as well. So you've done the VTubing real person face too.
Mhm.
But of course, you are always welcome back on whenever time allots it, because the more people I have on, the more difficult it gets to bring those people back on.
Yeah, right. Oh, thank you for inviting me. It's always fun to talk to you. So
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Oh, I enjoy it too. That's what makes it fun to bite you back.
Yeah.
Even if it just goes on a tangent of like these kids nowadays, these rotten rascals.
They don't know how to do nothing.
Man, you just look at them. They're just a bunch of pissants or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, before we end the show, of course, it's the top of the hour. So we'll end on promoting ourselves, and then we'll end with a pogo. Now, obviously, funny thing is, I'm getting the content ID claim for doing the pogo thing, but I'm not getting copyright strike. Obviously, it's because of him using a TuneCore is what it's called.
Right.
TuneCore is a music thing, and they're acting on behalf. But I can get video evidence of Pogo saying he wouldn't copyright people for using his stuff. So,
Mhm.
and Flash uses his data in Picard, and
Yeah.
he still gets monetized in the stream. So I'm not going to be worried about it. But again, I enjoy Pogo's works, and I don't get copyright strike on him because, again, he said he wouldn't unless it's malicious or whatever.
Yep.
And it's a shame that we haven't heard from him in a while. But if you saw some of the stuff after a certain point, you kind of get why he kind of dipped away. But the dude is magic with music. And if you haven't seen his stuff on YouTube, POGO or Pogo Mix, those are his two channels. Go check it out. I implore you to go check it out because this stuff is awesome. Not everything is going to be gold, but you can see his progress from beginning from Alice, which was his first video on Pogo, to Cosmo Lux, which is his last album we put out before he just didn't hear from anymore. So, but anyway, go ahead and promote yourself, Miss Amorata, and I'll do mine, and we'll go from there.
All right. Like I said, you can find me on my YouTube. Well, basically, you can find me everywhere on HorrorAmorata. If you're looking for my videos, you will find them under the Abysmal Critic. The only place where it's different, well, it's technically different on Rumble, where it's HorrorAmorata Gaming, and on Twitter, or X, where it's H Amorata. So check me out on one of those. Watch the videos. Stop by a stream. And hang out. I look forward to seeing everybody.
Yeah, and her link tree will be below. That will have all her links, and it's just Linktree just makes it easier for us to put all things in one area, and for free. They do have an extra thing where you can do like, I don't know what that subscriber thing is. I don't really get it, but okay.
I don't remember.
There's like a but anyway, so let me get my thing. All right, so I stream to both YouTube and Rumble. I stream less than most people, two different places less, but it's as much as I can handle right now, because it's just a time thing, right? And of course, Rumble Studios allows you to do to like 7 to 8 different places. Also, a custom RTMP, is it?
Mhm.
Yeah, RTMP, and it's free. Hopefully in the future they'll allow for like paying for extra stuff because it is free for us, but not free for them. It's a business thing, but the synergy of Rumble Cloud, Rumble Player, and all this stuff, it will be beneficial for them in the long run, just like YouTube has this stuff as well. But anyway, stream to both YouTube and Rumble at Daramouthe. I have a Discord at Daramouthe as well, but that's mostly just for DMing. I have my email down below, and I also have my Twitter fan account on Twitter X. I call it Twitter X. I've given my reason before, and I'll try to tell you in a little bit. But go to either leave a comment on YouTube or Rumble, or go to those 3 places I mentioned. It's in the link tree. It's on the link tree down below. Go to either or. Again, I offer the same opportunity to just about anyone, whether you're a creator, big or small, or not a creator at all. It does not matter. I've had so many different people. Some have not shown their faces, and that's fine. If you have a mic, if you're respectful, and you don't do the big gamer words, and we should all know what those are, we're good. I'll give you 98% of the field to say what you want. You can curse if you want. But I just asked for that 2%. That's all I asked for. I asked for that 2%. And 98% is a lot more than you get on other places where they won't even say like YouTube, right? You can't say whatever words. I'm like, whatever. But I offer this opportunity to just about anyone, and all you have to do is walk through the door. Look, just leave a comment on either YouTube or Rumble, or go to those 3 places, and we can get started. It's that simple.
Yep.
But anyway, and that leads into the second portion of this, right? It's a 2-part, right? There's that, and the second part it is the engagement factor. Look, you hear a lot of YouTubers say share, like, and subscribe, right? You've heard it say them 1,000 times, and it gets annoying. Totally understand it. The reason why I asked for your help with that is because part of it is, well, one, people get to see the stuff, and they can join along or not, right? I also will be able to build my name, my credibility, to the point I can invite people on who wouldn't even give me a second look, right? Or wouldn't give me a chance. And they don't have to be creators. They don't have to be these big, giant. They don't have to be like, Gary or Eric July or whatever. But it helps in getting all different sorts of people on, because again, I've had maybe different VTubers, right? Different VTubers, different real people, whatever. It doesn't matter. A like, a follow, a comment, anything with an engagement factor helps out, because it allows me to bring more people on, and you all get to be a benefit to it. I can't tell you how many times I've had different people come into the chat, and they get to see this new person that they never saw before. And guess what? They start following them. Why? Because they see this new person and they want to get to know them and all this other stuff. I get to be the connection point for so many other people, by other people.
Yeah.
And you can help with that. And it's free. It's really free. Just press like, leave a comment, whatever. It's all free. It's all free. Donos are a different story, but I don't always expect it, but it's always appreciative. And I thank you for that. So, guys, that's how we do it. One of it or all of it helps. It's up to you. But the help with it can bring just huge amounts of benefit to it. So I appreciate it all. So, but thank you again, Miss Amorata, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I hope to see you again sometime in the future. I know you'll be busy with your stuff, and of course, it's always a time thing. But at the end of it, we can come together and we can have discussions about whatever, and having fun out of it and connecting on a conversational level makes it all that much enjoyable. So.
Getting to hear my dogs bark.
Yeah, that means dinner is arrived. So we're ending on time. But anyway, guys, thank you for coming. I will not be back until Tuesday because, again, it's Memorial Day weekend, so there will be no Pay It Forward stream or PIP stream. So I hope you guys have a wonderful Memorial weekend if you're in the U.S. If not, I don't know what you'd celebrate for. But Tuesday, on the 28th in May, the door will be open for scheduling. If you want to come on, don't hesitate. Don't miss out on the opportunity, because this month filled up pretty well. It filled up slightly quick. I'm aiming for every month to fill up. Weekends, I try to keep open for myself because I need a break, but because I work a full-time job too. So, but anyway, guys, 28th, you want to come on? Shoot me the stuff. All right? And we get started, because I'm telling you what, You already saw for 2 hours what me and Amorata got up to, vaping all this sheep sitting when he was on. You saw all these different people come through, VTuber or not.
Yep.
Great time. So, all right, we're gonna play out with the usual, and don't forget to mute your mic like last time.
Oh yeah.
One Day with You by Pogo. Have a great weekend, guys, and see you Tuesday. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Okay, here we go.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
All you have to do is knock. All you have to do is knock.
Okay, here we go.